Thanks to everybody from Toyota for jumping on. My name is Morgan Raskin. I'm with Monotype. I know a lot of you know me, but some of you don't. And Tara and I were having a conversation last week that proved to be pretty excellent. We were talking about how we're wrapping up the Toyota Type project. We're getting ready to deliver. And she started to share a bit about what else you guys have going on, some of your other initiatives, some of the challenges, some of your goals. And as I got to sharing a little bit more about how we're working with other brands, it became pretty evident to both of us that there's significant opportunity for us to expand on the success that we're having and really just build upon the synergy between our teams. But what wasn't evident is that Monotype actually works in so many more capacities than just type. And so what I'd like to do is take maybe 10 minutes today. Actually, we'll keep it to 10 minutes because I know we've got a hard stop. And I'll give a bit of an overview, and hopefully that'll provide enough that we can have a more meaningful conversation afterward. So we're going to start with the obligatory statistic. And you got to have one of these up front, but this one's actually quite powerful. At least I think so. And I selected it specifically for Toyota because of what I understand of your brand tenets. It's been communicated by you guys up front and throughout the entire type design process that Toyota is a human-centric company. And when I came across this statistic about customer centricity and how brands that embrace it are the most successful, it really clicked. And I'm realizing that even if you're not here right now, it doesn't sound like it'd be too much of a stretch for you guys to take what you're doing in your R&D, what you're doing with the TNGA architecture, and how those are human-oriented, human-focused, and bring those into your brand efforts, bring those into your marketing efforts. When I was speaking with Tara, she kind of gave me a laundry list, but we focused in on the top 3 buckets of what was keeping her up. And they actually lined up quite well with so many of the conversations that I have. I meet regularly with CMOs, regularly with heads of marketing, usually at a senior level. And what they're dealing with and what Toyota's dealing with really falls into these 3 buckets. So Toyota and Tara, she's concerned about creating and maintaining a consistent, beautiful brand for the long term. She's worried about engaging your audiences in authentic, impactful, and measurable ways. And the last one, I think we can actually just call job security. For me, for you, for Tara, for Jennifer, for just about everybody in here. We need to be able to prove that this works, right? So we have to be able to measure it. We have to analyze it. We have to maximize it to be able to optimize. And ultimately, it needs to equate to economic value for Toyota. Drilling down a little bit on this, one of the things that is just top of mind for everybody right now is we're not dealing with 30-second spots anymore. We're not dealing with running an ad in the Sunday Times. This is the digital age, and I know it's kind of cliche, and I think we're all a little bit, beyond understanding that at this point. But it isn't just, okay, we've got a website now. Okay, we've got a mobile ready website now. It's the iPhone, it's the Apple Watch. We're going to be strapping goggles to our head and eating virtual ice cream, right? The next Toyota Prius, I may do that test drive in my couch through VR, right? So we've got to be thinking about so many other touch points. And when we talk about channels, we could think of a smartphone as a channel, but when you go into a smartphone, how many different apps do we have to choose from? How many am I engaged with? I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Which one am I on? What period of the time? So Toyota needs to be in all of these places, and that really can become overwhelming. The last bit here about creation and images, I think is quite interesting because we're not just talking about conversations in the sense of text conversations. It's not just, hi, how are you? I can actually take a picture that conveys thinking of you and I can upload it. And that's happening every day to the tune of 3.5 billion images. Just to squirm a little bit more, so all of these considerations, all of these things that Toyota's thinking about, that Terra's thinking about, that I'm thinking about, all of those are compounded by when we're trying to deploy across those, when we're trying to actually participate across these different touch points, we have to be able to do it consistently, because people still expect that they have the Toyota experience, whether it's on their phone, whether it's on their iWatch, whether it's walking into the dealership and signing in through a kiosk, or whether it's through a sponsorship on a stadium facade. And I know we're all squirming a little bit, but there is good news here. I think there is tremendous opportunity, and this has been compounded upon, and so many people have really come around to this realization that everything we just talked about represents opportunity, right? So audiences are bigger than ever simply because we can reach them. And we can reach them through all of these new technologies, all of these new mediums, and then, like we talked about, different channels within the channels. And it's not just a passive, I show you something, maybe you see it, maybe you don't. You are actually able to be part of the conversation that your consumers are having, that your brand advocates are having. So it's not just that kind of top level, high level engagement. It's actually down there with them. They are actually interacting with you. So back to, the squirm part, just because it really is important to nail this home. And I think I'm speaking specifically to Kenji and Doug at this point, because when you guys are creating a campaign for the 2018 Olympics, you are now having to create content, create artwork that's going to work across 25,000 different devices, right? And then within those devices, there's a myriad of aspect ratios. So even if you've got those things working functionally, working technically, you then have to worry about a consistent experience, because maybe I'm driving on the 405. I see the new Prius, but I'm not quite sure it's the new Prius, but I did catch it that it was Toyota. So at a stoplight, pull out my phone, bring up the Toyota site. Okay, going to start driving again, so I can't continue that session. And I get to my office, pull up the Toyota site, start to do a little bit more research. Maybe I kind of add some options, build a car. Tomorrow I go down to the dealership. I sign in on that kiosk. I'm actually immersed in the Toyota brand at that point because I am in an environmental or physical space. And all of that stuff needs to be the voice, needs to be the experience that you guys are hoping to uphold. And on the other side of the table, now talking to Jennifer, talking to Tara, talking to Tozy, 5,000 advertising messages are exposed to consumers a day, right? So that beautiful summer drive ad that you guys created, and you did really great media buys, and it's exposed to exactly who you want it to be exposed to. You're competing against 4,999 other messages in that person's day. So, cut through the clutter has been a term that's been used for so long, but the amount of clutter today is unprecedented. When we talk about, the days of Michael Jordan supporting a brand, Michael Jordan being the face of a brand, that's not something that millennials respond to anymore, right? And we can talk, of course, in the case of Toyota, maybe I care that Kobe's going to go tell me to drive a Prius, but it's much more likely that you're going to engage with somebody on a more meaningful and impactful level if it's coming from the kid in Orange County who does customizations on Priuses, and he's created this new exhaust system or something. He's got 10,000 followers on Instagram because he posts videos and he posts images of what he's doing to these Priuses. Or you've got the mommy blogger, right? And she's just got this incredible following, and they listen to her and they trust her, and they go out and they buy what she's selling them to. And she may be talking about the safety factors of the new Prius. And this last one, I flipped through the animation too quickly, but this is, if you want to be part of that 53%, or excuse me, to capture that 53% of consumers, that trust businesses, and I know that you do because we've talked about trust being so primary for you guys, they have to be able to engage with you personally. And I love this screenshot here because it's kind of like, what is more personal than inserting yourself into a conversation about date night, right? And then as we're flipping through our news feed, what could be more personal than inserting a smile into somebody's day, or, through creating beautiful artwork or entertainment? And I know I just really kind of plowed through what's going on here and the state of things. And you're probably chomping at the bit for a little bit more of what are we talking about? How do we go about this? And I'm not going to get too specific here because I think we should break out into other conversations with the right stakeholders. But here's what's happening. So brands that are working with us, we are able to help them deliver a consistent experience at every touch point. So we're amplifying it. We enable them to work with relevant, entertaining content that they can arm their brand advocates with. So that mommy blogger that I just talked about, the kid in Orange County that's doing those customizations, what if you can actually hook him up with some stickers or something that he can actually go and start to send to his followers, and they think it's neat, so they want to go ahead and share it beyond that. And I'm talking to Jennifer here on this third one, and certainly not trying to get rid of your job, but maybe half of it so that you can spend time on some more worthwhile efforts. Basically, I know that you guys spend so much time chasing licensing and working with rights management for your imagery and your fonts and your different assets. And that is absolutely something that we can alleviate. And back to Tozy and back to speaking to Doug and Kenji, when we're talking about reducing creation costs, what we're talking about is working smarter. So what would it be like if you guys were able to create artwork once and create content once, but then deploy it across every touch point that it needed to be, as opposed to creating artwork for every single size and screen that you've got to go down this list and actually grind it out to create? And finally, back to keeping our jobs, right? We need to be able to measure this stuff, and we absolutely have been able to prove ROI for our clients and our products and services. And what it looks like when it all comes together, this is one of our darlings. I think we've talked about them before, but I really love how this comes together, because we've worked with Southwest for a number of years, and they truly have embraced and they truly understand consistent deployment. So there's no better example than the typeface that we developed, them being on the side of a jumbo jet and on the cocktail napkins that go on the tray tables when you're flying their airplanes. And so we started with type, but then they engaged us to work with them to secure imagery and user-generated content that was being developed and shared by the people who love Southwest most. And so they were able to obtain that content and use it across every touch point. So the backdrops for their mobile app, for the backdrops for the in-flight entertainment, and the website, etc. And then in terms of inserting themselves into those conversations, they worked with us to create a number of sticker packs and a number of branded keyboards, so that their consumers could create travel oriented emoji and share those with their friends. And I'm going to wrap it up here because I know we've got to stick to 10 minutes. And I think a lot of this has been evident to you through your work with us on the type side. But that legacy I mentioned, it really can't be understated. We're talking 1800s here, and we've been pulling type forward ever since then, and effectively pulling brand expression forward ever since then. But what's happened in, call it, the last 3 to 5 years, we've expanded into enabling our clients to uh, basically, we're empowering engagement as well. So we've created these brand assets, and now we're enabling our clients to distribute them and to engage with their consumers with them. And so that looks like our mobile engagement platform. That looks like our earned content platform. And think the neatest thing about this, and what I really want to kind of leave you with, is that this can all happen with a single company. So I know that you guys are spread pretty thin, working with different partners, but the reality is that so much of this can happen with Monotype, and we can build upon the synergy between our teams. So I'm really hoping that we can continue this. I thank you, and I know we're ripe to get into how we can actually do this, and more of the how, because I really talked a lot about the why and the what, but the how is probably the most interesting part. But I wanted to save that for the stakeholders that are going to actually be working on these initiatives. Thanks again.